Alright, hey guys, and welcome back to another episode in my Mira's Finest series. This time I'm going to be talking about Pharsis. I'm going to be taking on Pharsis the Queen using Frye, and as per usual, I'm going to be talking about how Frye plays as a character both in a team and a solo setting. So, in both these settings, Frye typically plays the same way. He doesn't have a whole lot of supporting arts, but he does have access to a pretty decent ranged art pool, which helps him set him apart from the other longsword users in Nagi and Gwyn. So let's go ahead and start looking at art so I can talk a bit more detail about what Frye usually does. So Frye is probably easiest to compare to Nagi because they both use the same weapons, and Nagi is probably one of the best non-player characters in the game due to his access to offensive stance plus Blossom Dance. Blossom Dance being arguably the best art in the game, maybe second to Ghost, the Ghost Walker / Ghost Factory. So let's go ahead and get into what sets Frye apart. So first thing that's worth mentioning is that he has access to four good ranged arts and one okay one. He has access to Hellfire, Thermal Payload, Missile Volley, and Bullet Twister. All these are pretty good damaging ranged arts, two of them being TP, two of them being non-TP, as well as Bullet Storm, which is nice for building overdrive count quickly. Because he has access to all of these good ranged arts, you can run a pretty good defensive stance range build on him, which Nagi is not really capable of doing, and neither is Gwyn, and that gives Frye something to set himself apart with. Frye is perfectly capable of running a build with offensive stance, incendiary edge, rising blade, and tornado blade, similar to what Gwyn can run. But Nagi does that better than both of them, and arguably Gwyn does it better than Frye, so I typically don't think that it's overly worth running on Frye. For his other auras, Enhanced Stand's just not very good. Boosting auto attack damage is kind of just useless, and Titan's Recharge is okay. The reduced secondary cooldown's nice. If you don't want to run a Nullify Reflect Augment, then that boost is nice from it, and the restores HP when the aura expires can combo nicely with Cool Off, but overall I think Defensive Stance is just the best of his defensive auras. With that out of the way, I think I'm going to go ahead and start talking about the build that I'm going to be running here today. So here are my stats and resistances if you want to take a look at those. And I'm running a thermal Gatling gun with basically my sword is just here for appendage crusher is the only thing I really care about. I don't have that good of appendage crusher swords. This is actually the only one I have. But the single appendage crusher will be nice because whenever I break the horn, that I will have an appendage of minus 5 hardness because the exposed part has a default of -4. Other than that, I'm just stacking into ranged attack because I want the majority of my DPS to be coming from Bullet Twister and Missile Volley. The Night Vision's just to make sure I can actually hit my attacks. And the Scatling isn't technically optimal, but it's good enough for what I'm going to be wanting it for. Double range attack is always nice. And then for my armor, I'm just running the resistances while having some potential and HP up from to boost my survivability as well as the damage of my TP arts. You can get a quick look at my augments and gear here if you're interested. But let's go ahead and start talking about the arts that I'm going to be running. So as I mentioned before, defensive stance ranged builds are probably the bread and butter of what Frye can do well. So that's what I'm going to be running here today. I'm running defensive stance as my aura. Especially with the secondary cooldown, it reduces damage by a pretty sizable amount to where you really don't need to worry about ether resistance for this fight, as the ether laser just won't be doing enough damage to be lethal to you with defensive stance up. Cool Off is here for my cleanse. This is for cleansing gravity resistance down as well as time bomb if I need to. I will have to be mindful of it though because it does consume my aura, which means I need to be able to get defensive stance back up if I want to continue surviving the fight. Burning Slash, because I'm running Night Vision instead of something like ranged accuracy up, this will still hit, which means that I can use this for good TP management later on in the overdrive, as well as inflicting thermal resistance down. Bullet Storm is really just here to build overdrive count, it doesn't do much damage. Bolt Twister and Missile Volley are going to be the main two DPS arts of this build. Missile Volley can also inflict thermal resistance down, which is always nice. And then Hellfire and Thermal Payload just here for extra damage. Overall, Hellfire will be doing more damage than Thermal Payload, and neither of them are going to be doing any damage until I break the horn. But they're still definitely worth having, because otherwise I would just be waiting for my other arts to come off cooldown. For the skills I'm going to be running, Trauma Tension, Unwavering Courage, and Mighty Muscle. Frye doesn't have a whole lot of good skills for boosting his range damage, so I'm just kind of running these to boost my TP economy and Burning Slash ever so slightly. Because I'm running Defensive Stance, it's not going to be doing any respectable damage, but it's better than nothing. So with all that out of the way, I think I'm just going to go ahead and get into the fight. As I mentioned, I'm going to be wanting to break the horn, so I'm going to go ahead and lock onto that. Find the doorway and just go ahead and wait here for Pharsis to come on over. As per usual, I'm going to want to go ahead and get on my skill on the Lethal Tail.
Guess I'll hit you with ground gear after all. Let's
Go ahead and pop my overdrive. Well, that was unfortunate. I guess I am. Not a very good start, but should be fine from here. I got some momentum now. Didn't mean to click that. It's fine. It's a bit hard to build overdrive count quickly with Frye because Cool Off consumes your aura, and you really want your aura up so that you don't die. But we managed to get there in the end. So from here I can go ahead and start doing damage. I am going to be making use of the fact that Burning Slash gives me increased appendage damage if it's comboed into a range art. The offensive art bonus, which is very nice for if you want to break the horn during the Pharsis fight. It's really the only time that I feel like you really want to be actively working towards breaking appendages. And I'm just going to go ahead and cycle arts for a bit, make sure my overdrive doesn't end, and just kind of wear through the early phases and just kind of work on breaking the horn. So Pharsis should be entering phase 2 here pretty soon. I do have a good amount of damage off on the horn. It's going to take a while to break, and now that my damage is basically half, it's going to take me a good bit longer, but it just is what it is. Cool off the time bomb, pop the defensive stance, and just keep going. not really a whole lot to say right now. Pharsis is probably going to be entering phase 3 pretty soon, and she's going to start healing. But we really don't have any good way to muscle through her recovery until we get to the softer appendage, so yeah, that should be the start of phase 3, which means I'm going to want to try to block the launch here. Or you won't block it if you're bad like me and use up all your TP. Alright, so this is the recovery, so that gives me a safe time to clear off the gravity resistance and also get my aura back up. Great, cleanse off the time bomb. Did not cleanse off the time bomb. Oh well. Defensive stance will heal me out perfectly fine. We are actually getting pretty close to breaking the appendage, so hopefully shouldn't be too much longer. There goes the appendage. We're gonna try and just get some extra TP. I kinda wanna... There we go, target the appendage. Go ahead and buff up. Just start firing out big damage now. I'm actually just not even gonna worry about the time bomb here. Just want to keep powering through with raw damage. Ideally, Pharsis should be dying here pretty soon. Yep, there we go. So that was Pharsis the Ever Queen with Frye. I hope that you enjoyed. Frye's a bit overshadowed by Nagi, but I still think he's a very fun character to play as, and if you play with strength, he's still a very good character. Next video in this series will be the finale, so I may or may not have something a bit special planned for that. So I do hope that you've enjoyed, and that you've enjoyed this little series so far, and I will see you guys next time. See ya!